Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Danny and you're on the Code Freeze. And today we're going to be doing a video on how to build a front-end plugin for Backstage. And this is going to be a continuation of building out a Connect plugin for Backstage. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so this is what we're trying to build out today. I have a concept of a Backstage component, and within that tab, I have one tab that is specific for the Connect assets associated with that component. So, for example, if it's a microservice, and we're exposing it via the gateway, then it's going to have a control plane. It has a name. It has a configuration. We know when it was first created, when it was last modified. Where is the URL? So this is all the information that we can actually get from like calling the Connect APIs. The routes, the gateway configuration down here we can't see it, but also what plugins are configured on that gateway service. So this is what we're building, and then let's go ahead and talk about how we did it, or how we're going to do it. So before in one of the past episodes, we already built out the Connect backend plugin, which actually makes the API calls to Connect. I wish it would stop doing that every time I use the spacebar. So now in the front-end plugin, Backstage does come with a YARN template that you can go ahead and instantiate, and it's going to gives us this scaffold right here. It's in React, and it's going to give us a scaffold. And we're going to go ahead and use that as the baseline to build. So what we're going to do is first we're going to extend this plugin to have an API folder, and in that folder we're going to call the Connect backend client. So this is the client that's going to call our backend plugin over here to keep it very modular. And then we're going to also build out all of the React components. So what I did was, being my incompetent front-end self, was each of these important sections, this header, this gateway service, this configuration table, this route table, and this plugin table, they're each their own components for rendering. And then we will, using the React entity way, kind of use the API to call the backend, and then pass that information to each component. And then inside example component, because I was kind of lazy, we just kind of like cleaned it up so that instead of fetching this fetch example, we're gonna render our Connect components. And that is it. I'm not a React-me, so again, the test was, could I do it? And I could do it, but I don't know, it's not that great. So that's it. That's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and hop to it. So I've got the code in front of me, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. First, so we're in Connect Frontend. The first thing we're gonna do inside source is write out all of our types. These are all of the objects we're gonna be using, or classes we're gonna be using. I kind of do everything in advance, so I'm going to go ahead and also have Copilot enabled, and we're going to ignore Copilot. So actually, let me start with the interface. Let me put it up so we can see what we're doing. I was learning TypeScript and I'm still not proficient, but I'm learning TypeScript language, and so we've got 3 methods here that we need to implement, that our API is going to implement. Get service, get routes, get plugins by service. And it's asking for these objects, so that's what this gateway service is, this type. So let's go ahead and we also need to do a route and plugin. Let's go ahead and copy. Route. Oopsies. Plugin. Okay. You can see that really just using all of the attributes that I get from the Connect API, so that now it knows where those are. And then I don't know if I need this. I forgot why I did this. It's been so long. I'm gonna go ahead and do it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add this import in. I think it's Backstage, core plugin. We may need it. I can't remember. Truthfully, I can't remember. Okay, so that's our types. So it's really mostly about the interface. And it's really just for fun. You don't have to create an interface. I think a lot of people in TypeScript land are kind of against it, but I come from Java. Must have types. interfaces. And now I'll start on the API. So inside source, I'm going to create an API directory and the index file, and we'll call this connect backend client because it's going to call backend plugin, retrieve the data. Backend plugin is going to call connects and keep going about. So inside the API, we are going to implement the interface. Support class connect backend client implements connect backend API. Thank you. We will do our best to continue to ignore. So let's start with the constructor. Yeah, who's this guy? We need to implement him. Yes. Let's clean this up so we can read it. I don't have any linting on here, so. And then the error here is that we haven't implemented the interfaces, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Before we do that, I'm going to add a private method. I'm just going to put up top to help handle our responses. It's again complaining that we have this method, but it's not in use. And now let's get the two interface methods. Let's import this gateway service from types. Yeah, okay, so let's take a moment to just read through this. So get service is going to be a method call for the front end. It's going to need the control plane ID and the service ID. The discovery API is helping us find our backend plugin API. So the base URL is connect backend. I hope that's right. And then it's going to connect backend / gateway manager control plane ID value / gateway services service ID. So that's gonna hit the backend plugin, and then it's going to fetch that with it's a get method, and then it's gonna use this private handle response to handle it. Now, truthfully speaking, when I was writing TypeScript, I didn't really understand how to cast properly a response to like a class or an object, and so the casting is incorrect, but I still handled it okay in the components. And would I have fixed that in a real setting? Yes, but I did not for the sake of this demo. So let's go ahead and do this again for the other two methods. Get routes by service, it's virtually the same. It's complaining about the imports. It's virtually the same. /routes. And then same thing for the plugins. And then why are you giving me this? No, I just want you to import. Plugin. Yeah, I feel like it's confusing. Backstage, this is new, confusing. Plugin. Does that work? Yeah, that must be not a good word to leverage. I should have put K plugin for connect plugin or something. Okay. So that's the API client, and now we need to get to the components. Okay, so let's go ahead and go down to components. So I was kind of lazy and I just used example component, and the first thing I need to do is I'm going to create some new methods that'll just help me get my connect data off of the component. So I call this use connect data. What do I mean by that? Is that, let me drag this over. So this is our example component, and fix this microphone. This is our example component, and you can see that we've got these two annotations on it: connect control plane ID and connect gateway service ID. And I want to grab those off to, and how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to write a couple methods. So let's go ahead and get to that. First, I'm just going to create some constants for those two. So these are the two annotations that we're looking for. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do some fancy let me go ahead and import this entity object. It doesn't know where it is. Let me grab. It's okay, let me just grab the import statement. So, and then let's read what we did. Yep. Okay, so what this is saying is I'm going to return these two attributes off of the entity. And so we're going to pass in the entity. I think decompose it and then go ahead and parse down from entity metadata annotations and grab the one that is this string and then do that for both. So entity metadata annotations, we should be able to trace that. If we go back to this plugin example, let me make the screen larger. You really see it. This is the entity. It's called kind. Entity metadata annotations. Boop. So that's how we trace it, and then grab those two. And then I'm going to write another helper method called to get the config from our app config. Again, missing the import. I feel like Copilot. Yeah. No. Wrong import. Yeah, let me just grab the import. Where do I find all these? I had to look in the documentation to find them. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. And this one is going to help us grab the Cloud Connect URL. And if not, it's going to just give the default for US and then return that. The reason being is that for the Connect APIs, we do have lots of, depending on what region it's deployed in, we have different base URLs. So people typically start off when they're like testing in US, but depends on where you are in the world. And so that's what this is going to return. It's going to pass in the config, decompose it, get that optional string called connect cloud URL. If not there, return this one. So if we look into the app config YAML, you can see there's that connect.base URL or cloud URL. I have base URL, but I ended up not using it. Right. And the access token. Just no longer valid. Yeah. Okay, so those are some helper methods. And then in the example component, what I did was I kind of just blew all of this away and just kept the example component here for simplicity. I got rid of that. We need that. Yeah, so let's start from, we'll keep these here and then we'll fix them as we go. So this was like this is the starting point. And yeah, of course, if you're doing, something a little bit more production ready, let's, write a real component. But so the first thing was that I was learning React. I'm not that great at it, but is state. So this is all the state that I wanted. So let's go ahead and fix these imports. Let's see if we can fix these imports. No, it's a React thing. Yeah, let me just grab where's entities, React thing. Let's just grab him. Let's import this guy. That's where that method is. Yeah, these are just destructured but not used, so that's okay. It can't find this. Let's go find him in types. And same thing with, it's complaining about plugin. I think it's going to be the same issue, so here we go. Let's just add it here. It should resolve. Plugin. Use entity. Yeah. Okay, so now let's deal with so this is setting up a React state kind of, which I'm not a SME yet, so I just got it working. You know, making a browser refresh and stuff. I only at the base level capabilities here. Oh yeah, so now let's grab our config information. So config data is use API. Can now find name use API. That's and then we also want to grab our connect API reference. This is going to give us the backend. This is what we wrote in types. So going back to types to recall what we did there. Yeah, create an API reference called plugin connect frontend service. So this is going to interesting. Okay. Oh, I see. Right. It's going to use the reference in the front-end plugin for the... So it's going to call this guy. Oopsies. And then we need to grab the last piece of config is our... Almost last piece of config is the... in order to grab the base URL, and then we're going to let's start constructing our, making some calls. So first we need, we've got React state and we've got our configuration imported. Now we need to kind of like reconstruct our, okay, let's keep fixing this. This is... Boop. Nope. And that. Right. Okay. So we're going to use, this is really for, it's being reconstructed because it's going to be a link that I'm going to pass into a component. So that's what this is for. Pass into the gateway service component. We need to make the calls to the backend. So let's import this guy types. So this is where we actually leverage the backend API to get to service, pass in the control plane and the gateway service ID that you can see it's highlighted that we've pulled from use connect entity data. We're decomposing connect entity or that entity. And then it's giving this, and then we're setting it back into the React state. So yeah, and that's about as much as React as I'm going to explain. So I'm going to do this two more times for routes and for plugins. I'm going to do almost the exact same thing. Get routes, get plugins using the same attributes, setting it back into the React state so that it refreshes the browser. And then the last React-y thing for state was I just used use effects, and again, takes with a grain of salt. Front-end person. And so now from here on, we're gonna build out the connect components. When I started building these out, because I am not very good, what I started doing was I statically rendered them here with fake data, and then I started whittling it backwards. But what you're gonna see is the ready to use components. What I did do was inside components, I created a new directory called connect components. Because I was really lazy about swapping this out. Connect component, plural. These are all, and everything is its own little subcomponent. Yeah, we don't need to export any. Yeah, because I didn't want to change out exports. Yeah. Okay, so let's build out our connect components. Let's see. First, we need our index. The first two components are jacked up because I forgot when I was learning. What was that? When I was learning I forgot that I started in TypeScript and needed to move over to, or I started in JavaScript and needed to move over to TypeScript. So this one is incidentally written in JavaScript, but it still works, and that's okay. Oh yeah, I put this in the index. Sorry, let me close that. Don't save that. Come here, and we're gonna create a. We're gonna start top down, so we're gonna create a gateway service header. We're going to create a gateway service config. Those were the two ones I accidentally wrote in JavaScript, and then I realized I was flubbing, and then I converted back to TypeScript. So that one's called table, plugin table, and then I'll call this one connect route table. Hindsight, I probably should have called these connect gateway service config connect, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna, yes, please save that. So let's go into config and work our way top down. So when it came to writing out these components, if you go to the Backstage documentation, component design guidelines, they tell you specifically that they fall back to the material UI components, which is what I did. We want you to use Backstage's components. Check out the storybook. So this is what I did, and I kind of like worked my way around here, right? So they had a component for an info card. So I think if we look up, sometimes clicky, trigger happy, return info card. So we should be able to go and find info card. No, this must be a normal material one. Yeah. Yeah, so the info card is a normal material, I guess. Layout, navigation, information card. There we go. This is it. And then so then it gives you, it kind of like steps you through how to build it out, and it seems like or what it would look like. And all of the, you can like play with it here. So like, that's what all this is going on all the controls that are available to it. So I just used the Backstage components as much as I could. I'm not, for the 1,000th time, I'm not savvy. Beat that to a dead horse. So info card, title, and then inside the info card, I embedded a structured metadata table, and you can see that I'm passing in the data that I'm passing in. It is generic, but actually it's the gateway service data, and that's what's being rendered here. And then I just return this so that it could be rendered as a component up on the front. And then I did that again for the header. Yeah, you can see the components that I imported was that info card and structured metadata table. So structured, if we go to tables, tabbed card, item cards, structured metadata table. See, structured metadata table gives you a little bit more options than table. So, and then they have, show you kind of like in the subcategories, like give you different options, how to filter, load. You front-end people know more than I do. So that's the gateway service config, and then the header. Same thing. A lot of them we need to import the state, and then yeah. So for the gateway service header, this is where we actually pass in the data for the gateway service as well as the URL that we constructed up in the parent component. And then that's just being rendered. And, in this case, for resources that I'm using, some are core, so like the grid and the typography to help kind of structure it, or core material UI, but those are nested within the info card provided by Backstage. Yep. And I just did this basically rinsed and repeated. I kind of used the metadata table quite a few times. So plugin metadata table or plugin table. Yeah, I wasn't, I wasn't great at like the state and TypeScript at the time. So this is throwing an error, but it seemed to work. Like it still renders. Table columns is defining what each column is going to be, and then this is iterating through and kind of generating each row of the table. Otherwise, returning null if the data has not been updated yet. The state basically is not available yet. See. And then the last one is the React table. React table or the route table is very simple, is practically identical, except we're inputting different table columns, and so we had to do a little bit different parsing, but virtually the same. And then let's fix our index. So we're exporting all this stuff, and I just exported them independently. So we're exporting each of those things from each of the component files. And so that is what I did. So that's every single subcomponent. And then I go back into example components, and I actually now call them from here into the parent components so that they all co-render together. This gobbledygooky mess together. Doesn't look great. So header, connect, gateway manager, plugin, label, and then let's see. We can see. Yeah, this is just like a nice. Let me stretch this out. This is just like a cute little header. And then the actual content is where we start to use the support button. I don't remember it. Yeah, okay. And then when we're in content, we actually this is where we start to use the components. So you can see gateway service header. We pass in the data as the gateway service data and that URL. And then we I created a grid just to like slightly organize things, but it's really not the best because I don't think it's like very reactive. And you can see we're calling the gateway service component, the connect route table, and the connect plugin table all within a page, and then it kind of renders that all together. So that is just to build the front-end plugin, and then from here we actually need to go back into the Backstage app in packages, and this is where we need to do the final piece of configuration. So let's go ahead and get to that step, the last step. Okay, so now we need to go into the app and import the plugin into the entity page because this is going to be rendered as an entity. So how do we do that? What we're going to do is navigate. So for the moment, we're done on plugins. I'm going to wrap that up. And I'm going to go into packages, app, source. It's not app, I think components, root, no, catalog, entity page. So app, source, components, catalog, entity page, and we need to go ahead and import our new plugin, front-end plugin. Import hope I didn't forget anything. Like, yeah, we'll see. And then it's saying we haven't used it, so let's go ahead and use it. And inside the entity layout. So inside entity layout, switch entity warning content, overview content, service entity page inside entity layout. You can see that here are the defaults: CI/CD, API, dependencies. So that's the default layout that we see on an entity docs. So here I'm just going to make a new one. I'm going to call it Connect Frontend for simplicity. Or, yeah, and then title connects, and then link that to our front-end component page. This should export correctly. I wonder if I needed a connect front-end page. Did I have to do anything else? Routes. I had to create this route reference. A lot of things to do, right? Source, routes. Oh, we already did this. Oh, this was auto-generated when we created the plugin. Connect front-end page, but it's pointing to the example component. See, that's why it was a little bit easier. I didn't have to change as many things. Okay, so hopefully that's all we gotta do. And that, so if we're looking at the documentation, integrating into the software catalog, we are import your plugin and embed into the entities page. Yeah, and so just to reflect on the documentation, what did we do? So intro to plugins, we created a front-end plugin, and then create a Backstage plugin. This is actually where we started. Plugin developments, this is where I had to go in and talked about the routing. We talked about structure of a plugin, where the components are. We talked about the plugin. We didn't talk about the plugin file because we didn't have to change it, but it was kind of created for us. Add the plugin dependency to app package.json and import one or more plugin extensions. It didn't complain, so it's probably already there when we did the create plugin. So integrating with the software catalog, reading from your plugin entity, we actually ran through an example of that, and now we're on back to where we are. Import your plugin and embed it into the entities page. And there's lots of places you can embed it. You know, I am embedding my custom one down here. Okay, so yeah, if we go to package.json just to see front end. Is it an app packages? Does this have a package? Yeah. Dependencies, connect plugin is already there. Okay, so yeah. So here we go. Let's do yarn dev. It's coming up on the other screen. See if I can split screen here. So watch the logs. Wait until bundle is finished. It's not totally done, so I think if we pack compiled successfully, still a couple errors. Let's refresh again. Why? API is home. Oh, it's still loading stuff because we're in development, so it's kind of loading like in memory examples. Okay, so there's no errors. That's good. Now let's go ahead and create an existing component. That's the component. I have too many pages open. That's this component. That's this path. Analyze. It's the moment of truth. And okay, it didn't blow up, but we haven't clicked on the page yet. Ah, it blew up. Okay, so I fixed the issue. Actually, there's two issues, and I'm trying to replicate it so that we can step through it together. Okay, so the first one was let me copy this, paste it in here, analyze, and import view component. So, oh yeah, still working. Well, the first issue was that yeah, it's because I didn't save that. Let's see if I really want to try to break it. So the first issue was that was with the components themselves. I instantly mislabeled these two as .ts, and they need, for TypeScript, they actually need to be at .tsx. So that resolved. The second one was actually my API, my Frontend API plugin had the wrong base URL, so I was calling connect backend, which you think, this is me being a dum-dum, would have called it connect backend, but actually I called it connect, and I had to fix that. I really would like to replicate this. I want to see if we can just do connect, replace, go, save it. I never know if you save stuff. Okay, let's just gonna, just in case. Ultra paranoid, hot reload. This takes a second. Always tests my patience. Yep. Oh. Still thinking. Still thinking. Come on. Let's try it now. Here we go. View component. Okay. No? Oh, maybe that start server is... Maybe that's not the right spot then. Well, what I did was I get the base URL of connect, and I did that for all three of the endpoints. And wait, is everything there? Yeah? And it fixed it. For example. I bet the standalone server is not... It's not the spot then. I really thought it would have been. Oh yeah, that's the spot. Plugin ID, connect. I bet if I change this to backend. Yeah. Refresh. I hope it breaks. Yes. I guess it wanted to refresh everything. Start from beginning. Come on. It's reloading. Still going. Here we go. Oh, it says it's there. We go home. my test component connect. Okay, great. Okay, so it broke. And then if we look at the messages, it's getting a 404. It can't find the backend client is being called, is the initiator, and it cannot find this path right here. Right, because I've changed it to connect backend. So when I change this, actually I think I'm going to leave it as connect backend so it's more reasonable. And I'm going to go into front end and I'm going to change all these guys. I'm going to go into the backend client. Close backend. Go into the see what's calling connect backend. It's going to go connect backend. Connect backend. Connect backend. Save. We'll see if it does it naturally quickly on its own. Yay! And then it's back. So we're back. And then I can grab this. We can kind of see what data we have floating around. So this is the gateway service header. This is the gateway service configuration. This is the routes table. And then this is the plugins table. And if I click on this link, it will open it up to the gateway service and connect. So that was kind of fun. So that's the whole project. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me swap screens here. Yeah, so that was the whole project. I hope you enjoyed it. And that concludes everything for Backstage. I will see y'all later.